Hello, viewers, and welcome to another episode of the GI Huddle. I'm Tim Poole, editor of Gaming Insider, and I'm with Marcus Lim, CEO of Vault Corporation. Marcus, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks for your time, Tim. Glad to be here.
I'm very much looking forward to hearing your stories and speaking to you about your career so far, as well as what you're up to at the moment. Given that you've got a very interesting story, I'm sure our viewers are gonna enjoy what you have to say. Could you give us, maybe by way of intro, your early background and tell us a little bit how it all started for you?
My first dabble into the gaming industry was with Sands China. I was recruited into Sands China to be based in Macau. But before that, I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. I've tried various forms of industry, various forms of businesses. I've even started my own bakery. I've run a wakeboarding center. And I've dabbled into defense contraction as well, right? Defense items with the government in Singapore. So when I was headhunted into a role into gaming in Macau, I was so excited and I just plunged in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have to ask, after hearing those just those three examples, how do the bakery, the defense industry, and gaming, how do they compare?
Yeah, it's weird. It's all life experiences. So as you know, Singaporeans, we need to serve national service. And when I was in national service, I was a weapons specialist. I came in contact with some of my suppliers, and they said, "Hey, you get a great personality, and let's try this out." And I tried it off right after my national service in the army. It was a little bit too boring for me because one tendering process takes about 8 to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And right after that, when I was traveling into Philippines, and I just encountered this really nice bun they have in Philippines called ensaymada. And I said, let's try that in Singapore. And we did that for a while. Margins are great, but it's a terrible, hardworking business. So I admired all the chefs. It's too much work. Yeah, and then the wakeboarding was really fun and see, right? So it was a trend, and I dabbled into it and had a real fun. But that was not my calling. I knew there was something else that I wanted to do, and I was trying bits and pieces, everything here and there, until I got involved in with Sense China, and that was like, hey, I'm set. I want to do this for the rest of my life because it just feels so comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. I can get straight into asking you about your time with Sands, and obviously there's the Marina Bay Sands as part of your experience as well, which fantastic property. I'm yet to visit, but we've got colleagues who go to the shows and they love it.
Well, I think honestly it is the best property in the world right now. In actual fact, my duration with Marina Bay Sands was just 3 months. I was with Sands China in Venetian Macau, for a good two odd years. Me being a Singaporean, I decided to come back to Singapore because my wife was expecting my first child. Then I came back to Singapore, but during then, Crown was aggressively trying to recruit me, and I came back to Singapore and I realized that, hey, it's too good a property. You don't really need me. I took on the challenge with Crown. But having said that, I think Marina Bay Sands is currently really the best property in the world right now. They have the right hardware, and I think they have the right software. They have the right team on board. It's just fantastic, and they're embracing a lot of technology along the way. So all customer preferences. You can get your room key card without having a key card. You can just use a phone. All this kind of stuff. I think they're really innovating, and I can only see great things coming from Marina Bay Sands in time to come.
How did your time compare, when you're in Singapore and in Macau? I mean, my first impression would be that when you're working in a Macau casino, there's a lot more focus on the gaming itself. I mean, is that correct?
In actual fact, we have different teams. And Sands China is such a big company, right? I mean, the whole Sands Group is such a big company. we have various teams, and I'm involved. I'm in charge of my own team. The way I do it all these years, ever since I started, I understand that gamblers, I mean, the game itself, it's the same everywhere in the world. The same house odds. Maybe the felt is a different color, but you definitely on the baccarat game you have the banker and player bets, you have the pairs and the ties. So there's no big differential factor if you want to sell just gambling on its own. I've always taken the fact that hey, come Macau, great food, great convenience in between properties, historical landmarks, a lot of the non-gaming aspects that I've been doing for the last all these years that I've been doing, and it was a lot of success. We don't. The art of selling gambling is not really to sell gambling because that's part of the deal on the way. By the way, if you like it, if gambling is something that is part of your hobby or part of entertainment, so be it. But if not, there's a whole lot of stuff in that one destination that you can talk about. That is the differentiation between Philippines, Singapore, Macau, Korea, and anywhere else in the world. It's the destination.
Yeah. I mean, definitely in Las Vegas, there's this focus on non-gaming revenues and how the comparison of I was told once the MGM CEO quoted saying it used to be 65% gaming revenue, 35% non-gaming. Now it's flipped. It's the other way. So effectively, kind of from what you're saying in the art of selling gambling, is that similar across the board? It's the experience that you're selling and the destination. Not just in Vegas, but Vegas maybe. I think they're always reinventing itself as well.
Absolutely. So you can only sell. I mean, if you start a conversation about gambling, you can only last 5 minutes, right? But if you start a conversation about experiences, what you can offer them, off gaming, what food is there, you can build a lot of excitement with that. So that's what I've always been doing for all these years, is to build that excitement, build that need, create that pain, to come and visit, right? Yeah. Sooner than later. And that's what if anybody asks me why am I in some way successful in all these 10 years or 15 years, it's because I don't sell gambling. It's gambling is only a 5 minutes conversation, whereas everything else is so much more. I'm creating memories, creating really bespoke experiences. I think that's what I live for.
No, absolutely. You mentioned Crown and that kind of move. Can you talk us through that? And again, maybe how did that compare to obviously the regions and the properties that already stand out that you've mentioned?
So Macau has always been a gaming hub. There are a lot of experiences there, but the fact of the matter is a lot of the customers that go to Macau, they tend to spend a little bit more time in gaming. That's why the gaming volumes are always very high, right? So me going and Macau being the hub, it's very centralized located. It's 2-3 hours from within Asia. So it's what I consider a short haul destination. Now, when I was recruiting the Crown, and I was the head of Singapore branch office, immediately the big problem that they're having was they used to be enjoying about 2 billion or close to 3 billion worth of turnover per annum until Marina Bay Sands opened and resorts will open in Singapore. Right? We're talking about specifically Singapore customers, right? Singapore region customers. And when I went into Crown, their turnover was from a 2 or 3 billion per annum to a 200 million turnover. That is terrible, right? The uphill challenge for me during then was the novelty of Marina Bay Sands and Resorts World is still so raw. It's still so there. People are refusing to travel, and worst part, Crown it's a 7-hour destination away from Singapore. So I would consider it a long haul destination. So the same as Vegas, right? It's considered a long haul destination from Singapore.
Yeah.
So it was with Melbourne as well. Again, if I'm going to just tell people in Singapore, come to gamble in Crown in Australia, immediate rebuke would be, dude, Marina Bay Sands is just 15 minutes away from my house. Why do I want to pack my bag, pay for a first class ticket, and go there and do the same thing? So the strategy was, again, destination marketing. Go pet a koala, go see a kangaroo, right? You don't have that in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take care of your family. You just come and have a great time. We will pack you on a great ocean drive. We'll put on the butlers, put you on a picnic, great weather in Australia, that kind of stuff, right? So it took a bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
But by the third year, when I was in Crown, we have raised, me and my team, it's just not me, right? It's me and my team, we have raised the turnover from a mere 200 million to about 2.2 billion in just 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And on the very last year, before I left, I think I left the business at 2.8 billion worth of turnover. But of course, it's not me and my team; it's the whole executive team. Everybody is involved. We had great leadership during that. We're coming up with a lot of innovative products, innovative ways of selling, and we're all put on proper sales training to make sure that everybody knows what they're selling, mm-hmm. and how to sell it and how to close it. Right, so. Kudos to all the executives in Crown during then. I think we were pretty impressive during that point of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've not with the business now, and what's been going on last couple of years. What we see with kind of Crown is, every time Crown's in the news, we ask, oh, what now? What regulatory event has happened this time? Obviously you're not with the business anymore, but as someone who was there, and as you say, during this time of transition to, I think with the numbers you said, it's fair to say successful transition, right? How do you kind of see the situation at Crown, and then you got the Star as well in Australia right now?
Well, two separate companies, two separate experiences with these two companies, and I only have great things to say about these two companies. They were part of my journey in my career. And I thank everybody who I've worked with, good and bad. It goes with every other company out there in the world. But I love the people I work with. I have full-on respect for the people I work for. Even till now, I still hold them with a lot of gratitude. I think Crown has always had very superior hardware. They have always had very superior properties. Mm-hmm. Sure, they're having a lot of regulatory headwinds right now. They were taken over by Blackstone. Is it Blackstone? Blackstone, yeah. Right? Sorry. And look, I think it's a matter of time. Right now, it used to be all pro business, and now it's all regulation on compliance, which is good, right? Regulation, mm-hmm. Good regulation is only good for any business in the world. I think now is a period of time where it's still very raw. They're coming out with all this fines and all this kind of stuff. I think at one point of time, the regulators and the business will see eye to eye and see this works, this doesn't work. And I think that the bridge will be met soon. So mm-hmm. I think everybody is just going through, oh, no, we don't do this, we don't do that kind of stuff. I think the regulators are also trying to figure out what is great for business and what must be done to ensure that AML and compliance is all seen through. So it's a tipping period right now, I think, for Australian market. but I'm very sure, uh, you know, a good mind would prevail. You know, if it's a question of casinos are really bad, then I would suggest, close it down, right? But since they have not closed it down, I believe they're trying to find a way that everybody can work together and everybody can be sure that whatever they're doing is correct and right. So I think in time to come, it should be all right. Give it some time.
Yeah, no, that's a positive outlook, and as you say, there was talk of maybe the license being stripped, but I guess that's an important point that they didn't, and as you say, that suggests the regulator sees there's a way forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's not just Crown and Star, the poker machines and the clubs around Australia. Those are contributing a big portion of revenue to Australia as well, right? So not just Crown and Star. I think the regulators are really trying to figure out what is good, what must be done, and if these companies could comply. And if they could comply and it's logical, I think it would only just be good for the business in time to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm very confident that Australian market would do well. I wouldn't say it would do better than before, but it would definitely bounce back from where it is right now because it's probably ground zero right now.
Yeah.
It can only go up.
Yeah. I've got a couple more topics to ask you about kind of your kind of journey so far and what you're working on at the moment. But seeing as we've talked about the Australian kind of landscape, I think it'll be appropriate segue to ask you about the Asian gaming landscape in general, because you mentioned kind of Singapore already earlier, Marina Bay Sands. There's a lot of strength there. The Philippines has seen a lot of growth. But I guess the interesting one is Macau, because we had a lot of talk saying, oh, Macau is I think some really incorrect kind of headlines saying Macau has fallen and is done. It was always going to come back, but I guess the key question is with the kind of reduced junkets and things like that, is the peak long term going to still be less? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think I've always had strong faith in Macau, right? Because of one thing, the proximity in Asia. It is at the center of Asia, right? And we're talking about transportation going in and out. That's one big key point. The other key point is the hardware in Macau combined together with the 6 concessionaires. They have a lot of rooms. They have a lot of space. And all these properties are really 6-star or even 7 stars, right? Now, what is lacking is it's without the junkets and the credit facilities and all this kind of stuff. What is lacking else is executives in these companies being extra innovative and extra creative in trying to create experiences for not just gamblers, but for all customers to visit Macau. Now, if that is the only thing, I think it's quite simple. If you need to build a 7-star hotel over again, now that's going to be a trouble. But they have all this hardware.
Yeah.
All you need is great salespeople, great representation, people that believe in your brand and would sell correctly. And I say it, you don't sell gambling. You sell everything all at once, right?
Yeah.
I had to say this, it's a little bit about the Vegas model, right? Some people go in there, they hate Hakkasan. It was Hakkasan in Caesars. Yeah, they hate Hakkasan. They go to a great night at the nightclubs. They go to watch Britney Spears. You're making money from tickets. You're making money from the clubs. You're making money from the F&B.
Yeah.
And if they do a little punting, then fantastic. It's all about picking up the pieces, the bits and pieces, right? Back in the days, you just have to, okay, Mr. Junket operator, this is your credit facilities, this is yours, go sell. I don't want to know too much, right? So I think that model is a little bit of the past.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you don't need junkets. I'm not saying that you don't need an agency, but think of it the raw. What is a junket operator? A junket operator is no different than a marketing agency.
Mm.
It's just that
Third party,
along
middleman
the
type.
way, yeah, precisely, right? It's a referral business, right? I refer customers to you,
Mm.
blah blah. But along the way, some people just got a little bit more creative than they should be, and which got to some issues. But other than that, a junket operator is no different than just a marketing
Mm.
agency or just a third party referral business.
Yeah.
If it's viewed in that space, I think it could continue. It's up to the concessionaires in Macau to understand what they want to do, how they want to do it. But look, coming back to Singapore, Singapore has no junket operators. They're running a pure premium direct business, and it has been doing well.
Yeah.
Sure, they take on a little bit more credit risk. They
Mm.
take on a little bit more headcount in terms of fulfillment stuff. They take on a little bit more headcount in sales, right? But having said that, it has been working.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be working very well. So I think Macau, um, junket operators have been operating there for like what 40, 50 years. Um, it's a big shift in paradigm right now. I'm not saying that junkets will be obsolete. Looks like obsolete right now, but I'm sure there are people out there who are willing or understands compliance, who understands the need for KYC, that would stand up and say, "Hey, I think we could help these concessionaires. We can help you to bring in more business, but we're doing it the right way."
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's the same Australia, Macau has to come to a point where say, okay, I think we can still work with people who understand compliance and KYCs and stuff like that, and try it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Only maybe one difficulty with you'd say kind of selling the experience. Macau, I guess, does have to compete with as you, Singapore has a lot going for it in terms of the destination and kind of Vegas, even Australia. I guess you say it's quite far away from Asia, but there's kind of I guess more to do, more to see there than Macau. Is that or as you say, is that just a good salesperson can still pitch that?
Right. All right. A great salesperson. I mean, there's a great saying that says Eskimo can sell. I mean, a great salesman can sell ice to Eskimo,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you had put me on the ground and said, "Hey, Marcus, sell Macau," I would say what I would do. I would sell the food first of all. The food in Macau and the food in Singapore is entirely different. Entirely different, right? So I can just go to a street corner and find the best food, and we just sell that. We could sell, in Macau. I always go back to this old man that sells hand beaten coffee. I've never tried that kind of coffee before, and that is a very small little thing, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
So look, I don't think that there is a problem in selling Macau. It's just every place has its unique selling points. My team will be laughing when I say this, right? I've been selling the sun and the sea for Australia for the last 10 years, and it still works, right? um, in Macau, it's just entirely different location, and we just need to. The salesperson need to fall in love with the location that they're working with, understand the location through and through, which is the local spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can bring the local spirit to the customer and excite them and entice them in a way, they will come.
Mm-hmm.
They will come. But of course, if there's more things to do in Macau, for example, golf simulators, or more clubs, more non-gaming exposures, I think that would be fun. That could be cool. And I mean, I just came back from Macau. It's different. It's very different from the junket days,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still home to me. It is still home to me. Yeah, very very nice. Still very nice place. It's the rooms are to die for. I've never seen rooms better than that. not in Australia, not in Vegas. They have the best rooms.
Yeah. Well, I've really enjoyed
Yeah.
talking to you so far. We've learned a lot. And for my final question, I think we can end on a high, because I want to ask you a little bit about, obviously you've talked us through a lot of your career so far. I'll give you a chance to talk a little bit about what you're doing now with Vault, but also, you know, you've dealt with a lot of high rollers, you know, a lot of big name players, not big name players, sorry, big players. The opposite of big name, perhaps. And you know, if I'm not mistaken, you kind of got a book on this topic as well. So I thought if you could, if you could tell us a little about what you're doing now, but maybe end with, you know, pick some of your kind of your best stories of kind of dealing with stories that, you know, you're allowed to tell. And then I think that'll be a nice way to conclude.
Well, the stories I was allowed to tell is all written in my book, How to Cook Well, right? So it's all there. But let me run through one interesting story with you. But before that, let me tell you what exactly I'm doing with Vault. So, you know, during the pandemic, we were all made redundant, the whole team and I. And I just felt that there's still a lot of things that I have to give, I can share with this industry, and I just don't want to give up right now. And I decided to create a company that address all these KYC and compliance and full-on transparency issues, right? We hope at Vault, we hope to be the branch office or this sales outfit that every casino in any location would love to have, right? It's a very simple concept where you can engage us in Vault. We can run sales for you. We can run marketing events and all these kinds of things for you. And we work on a subscription model where it's a little retainer. And we only get that big paycheck when we perform. And that's so important, right? You can hire 100 salespeople, but if they can't perform, you're just wasting a lot of operational expenses. But here we are saying that, nope, we're gonna take this bet along with you. Small little subscription retainer, and if we hit the number that we all agreed upon, the bonus factor comes in. It's a performance model. So that's exactly what Vault is all about.
Sure.
We're still trying to figure out. I think it's the idea is a little bit avant-garde. A lot of executives telling me is that, Marcus, you know, sales is one of the most crucial departments in our company. You know, if we give it to you and if you do well, we might be out of the job. And that could be the truth. But well, we're just trying to figure it out. I think as the world opens up, the need for revenue becomes more and more persistent. And I think we have been persistent for the last 3 years to keep the ship in this direction. And I think we should be signing a few good contracts coming up soon.
No, sounds fantastic. And and if we could let's say run through one of those stories, but let's say if we could do it like a quick fire 2-minute story, and leave us wanting more, and anyone who wants to know more can get your book.
I think my story, I think one of the stories I want to share with everybody, it's especially for the salespeople, and that's one of the main reasons why I wrote the book. My royalty is $1 per book, right? So I'm not going to get rich selling books. But what I want to share with the audience who was watching and you know, have the time and patience to go through with what I want to say, it's, if you're running sales, there are customers that are extremely difficult, and they're very pricey. That means to say they want this price. We don't have to cave in all the time. The real art in selling is always to hold the line and make sure that it's balanced between the customer and the company, right? The customer wants everything on this side. It's our job as salesperson to make sure that, hey, look, we are drawing a salary from the company, right? So we got to take our company's interest at heart, and we're going to make sure that, hey, look, it's a bit too much. Let's try and even it out. The art in sales is really not to sell. The art in sales is really to say no when you when you can't do it, and say no in a way that they could accept it, right? So I've encountered a customer that is extremely difficult, not in the way that he asks for a lot of stuff, but he just doesn't tell me what he wants. And I've been trying to figure out what he wants for a long time. It took me 6 months or 8 months to figure out what he wants. And when I figure out what he wants, he came immediately to the property that I was trying to sell. He didn't want it much. He just wanted to learn more about me, make sure that he can trust me, and probably a friend. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes when we want to close the sale as fast as we want it to be, it might not happen. It needs time. Just as we want the customer to come, the customer wants to know if we know exactly what he wants to happen in that trip. Because to them, all these high net worth individuals, what is most important to them is time. They don't want to waste time. They want to make sure that if they're going to embark on a journey with you, they want to make sure that they're going to have a great time. So if you can ensure that through great relationship building, it would happen. So don't give up, I guess.
Absolutely. Playing the sort of the long game. But
yeah,
Marcus, huge thanks for your time. Really enjoyed hearing a nice variety as well. We talked Australia, we talked Macau, we talked Singapore, and it's really insightful. But yeah, thank you very much for your time.
All right, thanks, Tim.
Thank you.